Today we're making some cookie trays for the holidays on That's How We Do It. These personalized cookie trays are great around the holidays. They are pretty easy to make and sell pretty well. I use 10-inch or 12-inch edge-glued rounds from Menards. I can get the 10-inch on sale for about $1 and the 12-inch for just under $6. For those of you who don't have a Menards nearby, check their website as they do ship. Depending on shipping costs, it may still be a good price for you. I start by sanding the edges using 80 grit and then 120 grit. I then use my belt disc sander from Harbor Freight to sand the face and the back using 80 and then 120 grit. You can use an orbital or palm sander or even just a sanding block, but the belt disc sander makes everything go a lot faster. You do need to be careful when using it, however. You must keep constant light pressure on your piece and continuously move it back and forth so you don't create uneven spots. Make sure the belt is moving in the same direction as the grain of the wood. Otherwise, you will see sanding marks on your wood when you go to stain. With the 80 grit, I'm looking to remove any dents or scratches in the wood. The 120 grit just adds a bit smoother feel. I then raise the grain with a foam brush and some water. This step isn't really necessary as the tray will be sealed and it should not really get wet during use, but I like the extra step to ensure that the piece will remain smooth. After it dries, we then return to our belt disc sander and knock down the raised grain with 240 grit. You can definitely use a lower grit like 150. I just don't have any for my sander right now. I use gunstock wood stain from Varathane. I like this color and it really brings out the wood grain. I start by using a paper towel and applying it to the sides of the tray, making sure I push some of the extra stain into the pores of the end grain. We can then stain one side. I apply the stain, then go over it again to ensure that there's a nice even coat. I will then use a clean part of a paper towel and go over it again to remove any extra stain. When the stain is dry, we can flip it over and stain the other side using the same process. After all the stain is dry, I apply my bug juice, a mixture of 2-to-1 denatured alcohol to bullseye shellac. I have found this mixture applies a nice finish while drying quickly. I apply the finish before I laser. This allows me to clean off any soot the laser leaves behind during the engraving with denatured alcohol. Then it's off to the laser. I do make these files and will have them available for purchase at my Etsy store. A link will be in the description box below. The file will contain several round and square designs in different file formats. After the laser has finished engraving, I blow it off with some air to clean out any loose soot. Here is where I would clean off any soot that got onto my wood outside my engraving if needed. On this particular piece, I didn't need to clean anything off. I did find that my laser didn't engrave enough in one area of the tree and left an elevated piece of wood, and the piece will eventually fall off, leaving an uneven color. So I just removed the piece. Now I just need to fix the color. I could use some black paint here, but I chose to use my torch and apply a quick burn. I then take some 120 grit sandpaper and sand down the edges to eliminate the burn marks. I will reapply some stain, making sure I overlap it with my prior stain to blend it in. I can now apply my bug juice. I apply a liberal amounts within the engravings themselves. I want to apply enough to make sure that I'm locking in the soot within the engravings. This way it won't come off if someone touches it. I push my brush down into the engraving and allow the juice to cover it well. I then come back and go over the entire piece again with bug juice to allow for a nice even finish. After it is dry, I lightly sand it with 600 grit just to make sure it is smooth again. I then take a damp paper towel and wipe off any sanding residue. And now it's ready for our customer. Thanks for joining us today. I've included links in the description below for the items that were used in today's video. If you liked what you saw, please hit that like and subscribe button so we can get more content out to you. Until next time, this is John on That's How We Do It.